Dear students, now we are moving towards the end of respiratory system. So at the end, let us cover some important applied aspects. Let us start with few important terms. Eupnea, it means normal respiratory pattern. Tachypnea means increase in the rate of respiration. Bradypnea means decrease in the rate of respiration. Apnea means temporary arrest of respiration. Hypernia means increase in the pulmonary ventilation due to increase in either rate or depth of respiration. Hyperventilation means abnormal increase in rate and force of respiration. Hypoventilation means decrease in the rate and force of respiration. Dyspnea means when hypernia involves 4 to 5-fold increase in pulmonary ventilation, an unpleasant sensation or discomfort is felt and it is called dyspnea. Let us learn hypercapnia in detail. Hypercapnia means excess carbon dioxide in body fluids. Hypercapnia usually occurs in association with hypoxia. Only when the hypoxia is caused by hypoventilation or circulatory deficiency. In circulatory deficiency, diminished flow of blood decreases the carbon dioxide removal from the tissues. It results in tissue hypercapnia in addition to tissue hypoxia. However, the transport capacity of the blood for the carbon dioxide is more than that for oxygen. So, the resulting tissue hypercapnia is much less than the resulting tissue hypoxia. Hypoxia caused by too little oxygen in the air, too little hemoglobin, or poisoning of any oxidative enzymes has to do only with availability of oxygen or use of oxygen by the tissues, and therefore hypercapnia is not a concomitant of these types of hypoxia. In hypoxia resulting from poor diffusion through the pulmonary membrane or through the tissues, serious hypercapnia usually does not occur because carbon dioxide diffuses 20 times as rapidly as oxygen. If hypercapnia does begin to occur, this immediately stimulates the pulmonary ventilation, which corrects the hypercapnia but not necessarily the hypoxia. If partial pressure of carbon dioxide rises to about 80 to 100 millimeter of mercury, the person becomes lethargic and sometimes even semi-comatose. Anesthesia and death can occur when partial pressure of the carbon dioxide increases to 120 to 150 millimeter of mercury. What is the cause of death due to hypercapnia? At higher level of partial pressure of carbon dioxide, the excess carbon dioxide now begins to depress the respiratory center rather than to stimulate it. So there will be a vicious cycle. More carbon dioxide, further decrease in respiration. Again build up of more carbon dioxide and so forth. Ultimately it will lead to respiratory death. Next is hypocapnia. Hypocapnia is usually the result of hyperventilation. During voluntary hyperventilation, the arterial PCO2 falls from 40 to as low as 15 mm of mercury, while the alveolar PO2 rises to 120 to 140 mm of mercury. The more chronic effects of hypocapnia are seen in neurotic patients who chronically hyperventilate. What are the effects of hypocapnia? Cerebral blood flow may be reduced 30% or more because of direct constrictor effects of hypocapnia on cerebral blood vessels. The cerebral ischemia causes lightheadedness, dizziness, and paresthesias. Our important next topic is cyanosis. The term cyanosis means blueness of the skin, and its cause is excessive amount of deoxygenated hemoglobin in the skin blood vessels, especially in the capillaries. This deoxygenated hemoglobin has an intense dark blue purple color that is transmitted through the skin. Generally, cyanosis appears whenever the arterial blood contains more than 5 grams of deoxygenated hemoglobin in each 100 ml of blood. Deoxygenated hemoglobin is also called reduced hemoglobin. Few drugs like phenacetin causes bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane due to methemoglobinemia, and it may be mistaken for cyanosis. But here patient is cyanosed means bluish in color, but there is no breathlessness. Cyanosis is usually not seen in anemia. A person with anemia almost never becomes cyanotic because there is not enough hemoglobin for 5 gram to be deoxygenated in 100 milliliters of arterial blood. Conversely, in a person with excess red blood cells like polycythemia vera, the great excess of available hemoglobin that can become deoxygenated hemoglobin leads frequently to cyanosis, even under otherwise normal condition. Let us discuss relationship between hypoxia and cyanosis. Now in hypoxic hypoxia, the arterial PO2 is less, so more amount of reduced hemoglobin is there, and when it exceeds more than 5 gram percentage, cyanosis will develop. In stagnant hypoxia, due to slow blood flow, more oxygen is extracted from the blood, so more amount of reduced hemoglobin will be there, so there are chances of cyanosis. In histotoxic hypoxia, no oxygen is used, so no reduced hemoglobin is formed, and so no cyanosis. In anemic hypoxia, we have already discussed cyanosis is very rare phenomenon in anemia. Cyanosis may also develop in cold conditions due to local effects. So in mild cold, due to local factors, there is cyanosis. It is due to cutaneous vasoconstrictions of both arteries and veins, so less blood flow and stagnant hypoxia like condition develops, and more amount of reduced hemoglobin will show as a cyanosis. Paradoxically, sometimes in severe cold conditions there is no cyanosis, because in severe cold the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve shift to the left and it will prevent release of oxygen from the hemoglobin. Second thing, oxygen consumption of the tissues reduce markedly as there is reduced metabolism. So due to these two reasons, the amount of reduced hemoglobin will be less and it will not be enough to develop cyanosis. What are the common sites on body to look for cyanosis? So it is observed that mostly areas of thin skin are involved, like mucous membrane of under surface of tongue, lips, earlobes, nail beds, and tip of the nose. Types of cyanosis. There are two types, central and peripheral. Central cyanosis is a dangerous condition compared to peripheral cyanosis. Central cyanosis is due to hypoxic hypoxia and all its causes especially at heart and lung level. So due to less partial pressure of oxygen, this condition is somewhat serious. What are the clinical features? The extremities are warm and blue due to hyperdynamic circulation. This type of cyanosis is usually visible on tip of the nose, lips and under tongue. And when we do clinical examination, the pulse will be bounding pulse due to hyperdynamic circulation. Now, peripheral cyanosis is a different condition. It is due to stagnant hypoxia. So, it is a local level cyanosis. Clinical features are extremities will be cold and blue due to less blood flow and vasoconstriction of vessels. Here, mostly the tongue is spared, tongue is not affected, and in clinical examination, the pulse will be of less volume, pulse will be thready due to insufficient blood flow. There are few conditions in which both central cyanosis as well as peripheral cyanosis can be visible, like cardiac failure. So, heart is not able to pump the blood, so there will be insufficient blood supply to periphery. It will develop peripheral cyanosis, and due to less oxygenation of the blood at lungs level, there will be central cyanosis. We have already discussed this topic in lung volumes and capacities lecture. So these are the common obstructive lung diseases like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease which includes chronic bronchitis and emphysema, bronchiolitis, bronchiectasis. Common restrictive lung diseases. Intrinsic type of restrictive lung disorders like sarcoidosis, pulmonary fibrosis, interstitial pneumonitis, tuberculosis, pneumonectomy, or pneumonia. Extrinsic restrictive lung diseases like kyphosis, scoliosis, ankylosing spondylitis, pleural effusion, pregnancy, obesity, any tumor, ascites, pain on inspiration due to pleurisy or rib fractures. Neuromuscular restrictive lung disorders like generalized weakness due to malnutrition, paralysis of the diaphragm, myasthenia gravis, muscular dystrophy, poliomyelitis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. We have discussed this earlier. Let us revise. Between the obstructive and restrictive lung disease, you can see FeV1, FVC and FeV1 to FVC ratio. So in dynamic lung volumes and capacity lecture, we have discussed in detail about definitions and normal values of FeV1 and FVC. So this ratio will be reduced in obstructive lung disease and it will be near to normal in restrictive lung disease. So this was about respiration applied aspects part 1. Thank you.